But yeah, let's get on to Arsenal. We obviously know Chelsea are trash and they're buried right now. Jez, went into that game and we were sitting there thinking, right, what we're going to do today? Because we obviously cocked up against Porto in midweek. And we see Man City get over the line against Bournemouth quite fortuitously in the end, really, because if their wingers could cross balls properly, they probably would have lost. But there we go. They found the way. They hung on and they got the job done. We see obviously Liverpool in midweek go 5 points clear. So we had to win that game.
Yeah.
And mate, we absolutely blitzed them. No shots against us at all. Not even on like a single shot, let alone on target in the first half. They could come out second half, had a little flurry. Isak put one over the bar. They had a couple of little half chances, but then we get that third goal and they were finished. Absolutely buried. But another good performance, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I read today, I've read it somewhere that a couple of records broken. Start 6 wins to the start of a calendar year. 7 games where 2 goals in the first half, something like that. I don't know that. I mean, I haven't fact checked that, but yeah, I mean, I was nervy about that game. I won't lie, because I thought Newcastle they've got to push on. They're going to come to the Emirates and have a go at us, and they didn't. I was very surprised because I had a conversation on Friday with a couple of my mates who are in my local Newcastle, but those guys were not confident at all. And I'm thinking, I chatted, I said, why are you not confident? No, we just can't score. I was right. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, can't knock it. Totally different display against Porto. My question is why? Why couldn't we play like that against Porto? Is it the fact that it's Europe and we're mentally a little bit weak in Europe, or was the team just set up wrong to play a European team? Interesting points of debate, but we had to win. That was a must win to keep in contention. And every game now, Lee, is a cup final. If we're going to stay in contention to get and try and win this Premier League, let's put it right. Yeah. If we beat Porto at home 2-0 when we play them, then we're through to the next round. We're not going to win the Champions League. Right? All these people out there gassing it up, blah, blah, blah. Let's be fair and square, right? We got out of the group. We've played Porto. No disrespect to Porto. They've won the Champions League twice. We haven't, right? And I'll give them that. We haven't come up against the big boys yet. Barcelona, I know, aren't brilliant at the moment. Real Madrid, would we want them? No. Bayern Munich, not brilliant, but would we want them? No. PSG, no. I mean, come on, let's make it real. The real trophy that we've really got to bang on for is the Premier League. Sadly, much as I'd love to see us win the Champions League, I've never seen it. We're rubbish in Europe, always have been, but I can't see it. So we've got to push for the one I honestly believe is a possibility. I'm not saying we will. It's a possibility. I watched your poll earlier, Lee, and I put in there, I quite fancy Liverpool to win this league myself. I know a lot of people put in City. I went Liverpool, purely and simply. The manager they've got, he's kicking that team into gear. And I can see that team playing for him because he's going at the end of the season. So I think you have to be realistic and not be stupid and make out like certain people do. And they make out Real Madrid 11, and there's only 2 Real Madrid players in it. Really? Okay. Now I'm not going to sit here and wax lyrical. I don't watch it. I don't watch Spanish football. You do. You know a billion times more about it than I do. And so we have to be realistic, people. Let's go for the one thing we can try. Yes, try in the Champions League. I ain't got a problem with it, right? But I just don't think we have the team balance to win in Europe at this point in time. Maybe it will happen, but let's go for the Premier League. I think we are well, no question. We're in the mix for it. Let's go for it. Yeah. And let's try in the Champions, but be realistic about it. Keep calm. and keep going. That's all I'm going to say, man.
Yeah, what did you make of the game, Kenny? Obviously, you were at the game. You've seen loads of goals recently at the Emirates, mate. You must be loving life.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think, Newcastle, played the way I thought they'll play. They're predictable. They try to put two banks of four, try to do their low block. But this season, Newcastle have struggled against teams that have pressed them aggressively, like the clock gegenpress. And they've struggled also with teams who just attack them at great pace with movement and athleticism. They can't cope with it. I referenced Tottenham's thrashing of them, at the White Hart Lane. I also referenced the Liverpool game when they got absolutely mullered. Newcastle just can't cope with that. They can't cope with pace. Last season, they coped pretty well with it. But this season, they're a bit of a mess. That's why I was fairly confident we were going to win the game comfortably. And you know what? We did. It was brilliant football. Jorginho, the player that I liken to a horse for courses goal was absolutely brilliant. The way he controlled the midfield, I thought, me and you had a debate, in the fan cam about Saka. We're caught between two stools. It's a case of, do we want Saka to be, the player that, produces 8 out of 10 performances every game, or do you want a Saka that scores important goals? At the moment, we're stuck between the two, but because we're in a sort of title challenge, we've got to settle at the moment for Saka to score goals. And I think that's what he's doing. If he's not going to play, if Saka doesn't play well, we'll settle for him scoring. And I think that's what he's done since the turn of the year. In terms of other players, Kai Havertz, I thought he had a good game.
That was his best game for us.
Perversely, despite the fact that Kai Havertz still feeling his way and still, hasn't convinced all of us. Perversely, I think he's probably going to end up with probably between 12 and 15 goals. Don't get me wrong. They're not going to be braces. They're going to be the odd goal here and there. And I think come the end of the season, wherever we finish, I think the fans will be properly satisfied with it, with his outlook, because everyone's now a stats man. So they're going to be satisfied with that. But, I think next season, if he's at the club, I'm going to be expecting a lot more than what I've seen. But at the moment, he's useful because he can come and get your goal here and there. And then, Odegaard, I thought, weren't too great, but we're getting play for other parts of the pitch. One thing I would say is I second what Jay says about Europe. The way we're built right now in terms of like the make-up of the squad, the make-up of the first 11, that's not built for the Champions League. That squad is built for the league in terms of like the pace and power that we play with, the athleticism that we have all across the pitch. That's built for pulverising teams in the Premiership. In Europe, you can't do that. That's why I wasn't surprised that we got nothing out of Porto. I don't think this Arsenal side can cope with the change in tempo that's required for Europe. Don't get me wrong. At home, in the Champions League against Porto, as we've shown against PSV and as we've shown against Lens, if we do put it on Porto, then we probably will prevail. But against better sides, even Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, maybe Internazionale, and definitely Man City, they're not going to be scared of us. They're not going to allow us to just pulverise them at the Emirates. They're going to have a bit more than that. And I think if we try to go back to Plan B, play European style, we'll fail miserably. That's why I think, as much as a lot of fans want the Champions League because we've never won it before, and I do believe to be an elite club, you have to win the Champions League. Now, I just said that Arsenal's not elite, but I have to be true to myself by saying that's not just my opinion. I think a lot of Arsenal fans think it deep down. When Chelsea give us stick about not winning the Champions League, said you'll never sing that, you never sing that. I think we know they got a point. I say it, and I know kids are watching, but we were packing it at the thought of Spurs winning the Champions League 5 years ago. So that shows the evolution of this great competition. But for me, this season's priority is the league. It has to be the league because of the makeup of the squad.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It's probably it's probably what he wants most as well. Like the Champions League's great, and we all want to win it. We've never won it, but we ain't won a league for 20 years. Yeah, and if we do it up against, we're doing it up against two teams. The Champions League, one mistake, you're out.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Premier League, a mistake, you still could be in it. We've all had blips this season. Like Liverpool have drawn quite a lot of games. Obviously lost to us, and they got robbed against Tottenham. But Man City went 1-6. We went 1-7 with just one win in 7, and we're all still there. Yeah, but I think the most consistent team now wins it. Yeah, and them games against Tottenham, Chelsea, and Man United, because I think all three of us got to play them. Them 3 games that decide where it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, that Chelsea team are horrific. Yeah, I was did a show with Saeed earlier, and Dom, the Chelsea fan that was on there, he was saying like every time a set piece goes against Chelsea, it's as good as having a penalty. Yeah, because they can't defend set pieces. And obviously, we're the best set piece team in the league. So hopefully when we play them, we absolutely batter them. But I don't know, Man City are playing Man United this weekend. That could either be a cricket score or a stinky draw. Yeah, because Man U ain't got a chance of winning that game. Yeah, but they might get out of there with a draw. Look what they did against Liverpool. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.